The soft murmur of the morning rain is a sharp contrast to the cacophony of chaos unfolding in our garage. I'm sprawled on the concrete floor, dazed and disoriented, my head throbbing from the impact. Above me, a toolbox lies sprawled open, its contents scattered like a treacherous bouquet. Jake! Oh my God, Jake! Emily's voice pierces through the haze, her panic laced with something I can't quite place. She's kneeling beside me now, her face a mask of fear and guilt. I managed to croak, reaching out to touch her hand. What happened? She grips my hand tightly, her fingers trembling. I don't know, Jake. I heard a noise and then. I groan, attempting to sit up, but the world tilts dangerously. Emily's face swims in and out of focus. Her eyes dart to the toolbox, then back to me, a flicker of something unreadable flashing across her features. I'll call for help, she says, already pulling out her phone. The words are faint but firm, a line of defense I can't quite penetrate. The wailing of the ambulance siren grows louder, an ominous herald of what's to come. Hours later, I'm lying in a sterile hospital bed, a bandage wrapped tightly around my head. The dull ache is punctuated by the beeping of machines and the sterile smell of antiseptic. Emily is seated in the corner, her face a ghostly pallor. The doctor enters, his expression serious. You're lucky it wasn't worse, Mr. Blake. You've sustained a mild concussion. The dull ache is punctuated. We'll need to monitor you for a while, but you should recover completely. Emily's grip on my hand tightens. Thank you, doctor. As the doctor exits, Emily's gaze lingers on me, her lips pressed into a thin line. There's an awkward silence between us, the kind that stretches and strains until it's almost unbearable. Jake, I need to tell you something, Emily begins, her voice barely above a whisper. I blink slowly, struggling to keep my eyes open. What is it? Before she can respond, her phone buzzes with a text message. She glances at it, her expression changing from anxious to strangely serene. She hesitates, then puts the phone away, forcing a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Nothing, it's nothing. Just rest. The next few days blur together. The doctors discharge me with instructions to rest at home, but the real storm begins when I return. The house feels eerily quiet, its usual warmth replaced by a cold, oppressive atmosphere. One evening, as I'm sifting through the clutter in our living room, I find an envelope tucked behind a picture frame on the mantel. My name is scrawled across the front in Emily's elegant handwriting. I hesitate, then rip it open. Inside, there's a single sheet of paper, written in Emily's flowing script. Jake! I'm sorry, but I couldn't do this anymore. I've been unfaithful, and I can't face you. I'm leaving with someone else. Please understand, I couldn't be honest with you. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. Emily. My heart races as I read and reread the letter, each word sinking in like a heavy stone. The betrayal stings with a raw intensity, making it hard to breathe. I stagger back, the room spinning around me. I slam the envelope down on the coffee table, my mind whirling with a furious mix of emotions. Anger, hurt, and a bitter resolve to confront this head-on. The next morning, I confront Emily. She's packing a suitcase in our bedroom, her movements hurried and frantic. Emily! I bark, my voice rough and commanding. What's this? What's really going on? She freezes, her back to me, her shoulders slumping as if bracing for impact. Slowly, she turns around, her eyes red-rimmed and weary. Jake, please. I didn't want you to find out this way. Didn't want me to find out? I repeat incredulously. You set me up, Emily. The toolbox, was it an accident or a deliberate setup? Her silence is answer enough. Who is he? I demand. The man you've been with. Who is he? Emily bites her lip, tears welling up in her eyes. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to end like this. The finality in her tone, the resignation in her posture, it's all too much. I feel a surge of anger, but more than that, I feel a cold, calculating resolve. Get out, I say, my voice trembling but firm. I don't want to see you again. Leave now. Emily's eyes widen in shock, and for a moment, it seems like she might argue. But then she simply nods, her expression a mix of defeat and relief. She turns back to her suitcase, zipping it up with slow, deliberate movements. As she walks out the door, suitcase in tow, I stand there, the weight of her departure sinking in. The house feels emptier than ever, the silence echoing with the ghosts of our shared memories. It's over. The finality of it is both a crushing blow and a strange relief. I watch her disappear down the driveway, my mind already racing with thoughts of the future, of what comes next. The path ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear, I'm done being the victim. Emily's betrayal has set the stage for a reckoning, and I'm ready to take control of the narrative. The house is eerily quiet now, but the stillness is short-lived. The hum of my phone pulls me out of the daze I've been in since Emily's departure. I check the screen, it's a message from Sarah, my sister. The text reads, "Hey, Jake, I'm coming over. We need to talk." I run a hand through my disheveled hair and glance around at the mess Emily left behind. The emotional toll is heavy, but I force myself to clean up a little before Sarah arrives. Her knock on the door is sharp, insistent, and I let her in with a heavy heart. "Hey," Sarah says, stepping into the living room with a concerned expression. She's always been the practical one, the kind of person who knows how to handle a crisis. Today, she's dressed casually, but there's a sense of urgency in her demeanor that matches my own. "How are you holding up?" "Just about," I reply, gesturing to the couch. "Have a seat." She sits, her eyes scanning the room and taking in the aftermath of Emily's departure. "I saw the news on Facebook. I couldn't believe it." "What happened?" I run a hand over my face, feeling the fatigue settle in my bones. "It's a long story. Emily, she was unfaithful. Left with someone else. And now, I'm left trying to piece things together." Sarah's eyes narrow, her expression shifting from sympathy to something more serious. "Do you have any idea who this guy is?" "No," I admit, frustration edging my voice. "But I intend to find out." A determined look crosses Sarah's face. "Let's figure this out together. We'll need to track her down. If she left in such a hurry, she probably didn't cover her tracks well." Before I can respond, the doorbell rings again. I answer it to find my old friend and private investigator, Mark Sullivan, standing there with a grim expression. "Jake," Mark says, shaking my hand firmly. "Heard about what happened. Thought I'd come by, see if you needed any help." I gesture for him to come in, and Mark takes a seat beside Sarah. "This is Mark, an old friend." "Mark, this is Sarah, my sister." Mark nods at Sarah, and she returns the gesture. "Nice to meet you," she says, her voice steady. Mark turns to me. "So, what do we know? Any clues?" I shake my head. "Emily left me a note. Said she couldn't do it anymore and that she's been unfaithful. That's all I have." Mark furrows his brow. "We need to start by looking into her recent activities. If she's been seeing someone else, there might be some digital breadcrumbs we can follow." "I've already looked through her phone," I say, handing Mark the device. But it's clear she'd already cleaned it up. "I need your help to find out where she might be." Mark examines the phone. "All right. I'll see what I can dig up. In the meantime, let's think about anyone who might have known about this. Friends, colleagues, anyone who might have been close to her." Sarah and I exchange glances. Emily's always been close to her co-worker, Lisa. They were practically inseparable, Sarah says. If anyone knew about her plans, it might be Lisa. Mark nods. "I'll start with Lisa. In the meantime, keep your phone handy. If you think of anything else or if Emily tries to contact you, let me know immediately." With that, Mark heads out, leaving Sarah and me to contemplate our next move. I feel a pang of gratitude for Sarah's support, though the situation remains grim. The following day, Mark returns with a weary expression. Lisa didn't know much, but she did mention that Emily had been acting strangely for the past month. She'd been making frequent trips to a hotel downtown. I feel a surge of anger mixed with anxiety. A hotel? Thought I'd come by. She'd be staying there? That's what we need to find out, Mark says. I've got a lead on the hotel's guest records. We should check it out. Sarah and I agree, and we head to the hotel with Mark. The lobby is sleek and modern, a far cry from the familiar warmth of our home. We approach the front desk, where a receptionist looks up from behind a glass partition. Hi, we're looking for information on a guest, Mark says, flashing a badge that identifies him as a private investigator. Her name is Emily Blake. The receptionist hesitates, her eyes flicking to the badge and then to us. I'm sorry, I can't provide that information without proper authorization. Mark leans in slightly, his tone authoritative. We're investigating a serious matter. It's crucial that we get this information. The receptionist sighs, clearly uncomfortable. I'll need to check with my supervisor. A few tense minutes later, the supervisor arrives, and after a brief exchange, they agree to give us the information. Emily had indeed stayed at the hotel, and her last check-in was just days before her departure. Do you have any idea where she went from here? I ask, a sense of urgency creeping into my voice. The supervisor shakes his head. I'm afraid we don't have that information. But the security footage might help. We can arrange to review it if you'd like. I nod, desperate for any leads. As we wait for the footage, Sarah looks at me with determination. We'll get through this, Jake. We'll find her. The footage reveals Emily leaving the hotel with a man who is unfamiliar to us. Mark takes note of his appearance, and we watch as the two of them drive off in a sleek black car. Footage reveals Emily leaving. Get a description of the vehicle, Mark suggests. We can use it to track them down. As we leave the hotel, a mix of anger and determination drives me. Emily's betrayal has ignited a fire within me, one that won't be extinguished until I uncover the full truth. The game has changed, and I'm ready to play it, no matter where it leads. The morning sun filters through the blinds, casting long shadows in the living room. To give us the information table, a pile of notes and papers spread out before me. The black car from the hotel footage is the key, and I'm determined to trace its path. Mark and Sarah are seated across from me, their expressions mirroring my resolve. Mark is hunched over his laptop, tapping away furiously. I've put out an alert for the black car. It's registered to a rental agency, so it's not a permanent vehicle. We should be able to track its location through the GPS logs. Sarah sips her coffee, her gaze steady. I've also reached out to a few of Emily's old friends. Someone might have heard something. But it's going to take time. I nod, feeling the weight of impatience settling over me. Any progress on the man from the footage? Mark shakes his head. Not yet. He's not in any of the local databases I've checked. Could be a new face or someone who knows how to keep a low profile. As if on cue, Mark's phone buzzes. He glances at it and his eyes narrow. We've got a hit. The car was tracked to a small town about an hour from here. A surge of adrenaline courses through me. Then let's go. We need to find out where they're headed. Mark closes his laptop and stands. We'll need to move quickly. If they're still there, we might catch them. Otherwise, we might lose the trail. Sarah grabs her coat and we all head out, the tension palpable. The drive to the small town is quiet, each mile stretching my nerves thinner. I'm restless, my mind racing through the possibilities of what we might find. We arrive in the town and pull into a small cafe with a view of the main street. Mark takes a seat at a corner table while Sarah and I scan the area, hoping to spot the car or the couple. The town is quaint, almost idyllic, with its cobblestone streets and charming storefronts. But beneath the surface, a sense of urgency drives us. This is where the GPS last tracked the car, Mark says, looking around. We need to figure out where Emily and her companion might have gone from here. Sarah nods, pulling out her phone. I'll start asking around. Maybe someone in town saw them. As Sarah heads out, Mark and I take a seat at the cafe's bar. The place is filled with locals, their chatter a comforting background noise. I try to focus, but my mind keeps drifting back to Emily. Mark's phone buzzes again, breaking my thoughts. Got another update, he says, scanning the message. The car's GPS shows it was last parked at a bed and breakfast nearby. We should check it out. We pay for our coffee and make our way to the bed and breakfast. The building is an old Victorian house, charming but slightly worn. Mark leads the way, and we enter through a small foyer adorned with antique furniture. A woman in her 50s, dressed in a floral apron, greets us from behind the desk. Welcome. Can I help you? Mark steps forward, flashing his badge. We're investigating a missing person. We believe they might have stayed here recently. Can you help us? The woman's face pales slightly. I'm not sure I'm allowed to give out guest information. But I can tell you if they've been here. Please, I interject, my voice urgent. We're just trying to find them. It's important. The woman hesitates, then nods. All right. Let me check the guest log. She returns a few minutes later, holding a clipboard. Yes, we had a guest who fit that description. They checked in a few days ago and left this morning. Mark's eyes narrow. Did they mention where they were headed next? The woman shakes her head. I'm afraid not. They paid in cash and left without saying much. I feel a rush of frustration but keep my composure. Thank you for your help. As we leave the bed and breakfast, Sarah catches up with us, her expression serious. I've spoken with a few locals. No one's seen them, but there's a small cabin rental place a few miles outside of town. Might be worth checking. Mark nods. Let's head there. They might have gone to the cabin for privacy. The drive to the cabin rental place is tense. We arrive at a modest office that looks like it hasn't seen much business lately. Inside, a young man with a disheveled appearance is manning the front desk. We're looking for information on recent rentals, Mark says, flashing his badge again. We're searching for a couple who might have stayed in one of your cabins. The young man frowns. I'm not sure if I can help. We usually keep rental info confidential. I step forward, trying to keep my voice calm but firm. Please, it's really important. We're just trying to find them. The young man looks hesitant, but something in his eyes softens. All right, let me check. We had a couple rent a cabin last night. They paid with a credit card, and I think I can pull up their details. He goes into a back room, leaving Mark and me to wait anxiously. Sarah paces back and forth, clearly as impatient as I am. After a few tense minutes, the young man returns with a printout. Here's the information. The cabin they rented is up on Cedar Lane, about 10 miles from here. Mark takes the paper, examining it closely. Thanks. We'll check it out. We leave the office, heading towards Cedar Lane. The drive is filled with a mixture of hope and dread. The cabin is nestled in a wooded area, isolated and quiet. As we pull up, I notice the black car parked in front. My heart races. This is it, Mark says. They're here. We approach the cabin cautiously, staying low. Mark leads the way, and we peer through a window. Inside, we can see Emily and the man from the footage, sitting at a table. The man is talking animatedly, while Emily listens with a tense expression. I feel a surge of anger but also a strange sense of relief. We've found them. Now, it's time to confront the betrayal head-on. Mark motions for us to stay back. We'll need to plan our approach. Let's get more information before we make any move. As we retreat to a safe distance, I'm filled with a mix of emotions. The confrontation is imminent, and I'm ready to face whatever comes next. The game has only just begun, and I'm determined to see it through to the end. The cabin sits nestled in the woods, its rustic charm a stark contrast to the turmoil inside. Mark, Sarah, and I huddle behind the cover of some trees, our breath visible in the cool air. The tension is palpable as we prepare to confront Emily and her companion. "All right," Mark whispers, "here's the plan. We'll go in through the back. Sarah and I will create a diversion, and you can confront them." I nod, my heart pounding. "Understood." We move cautiously around the cabin, careful not to make any noise. Mark and Sarah position themselves near the front, while I slip around to the back door. I take a deep breath and gently try the handle. To my surprise, it's unlocked. I push the door open and step inside, my senses on high alert. The interior is cozy, but the sight of Emily and the man sitting together at the table stings like a slap. I take a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. "Emily," I call out, my voice filled with a mix of anger and sadness. "We need to talk." Emily's head snaps up, her face turning pale as she sees me. The man beside her stands abruptly, his expression a mixture of surprise and defensiveness. "Jake!" Emily exclaims, rising from her chair. "What are you doing here?" Before I can respond, Mark and Sarah burst through the front door, creating the distraction we planned. Mark's authoritative voice cuts through the room. "Nobody moves." Emily's eyes dart between us, a flicker of panic crossing her face. "Jake, please, let me explain." I take a step forward, my emotion swirling. "Explain? How do you explain betrayal, Emily? You've been lying to me from the start." The man, who I now see is in his late 40s, steps forward defensively. "Look, this isn't what you think. We didn't mean for you to find out this way." "Who are you?" I demand, my voice rising. "What's your connection to Emily?" The man looks uncomfortable but meets my gaze steadily. "My name is Robert. I'm a private investigator. Emily hired me to follow her husband." The revelation hits like a ton of bricks. A private investigator? Why the hell would she need that? Robert's gaze shifts to Emily. She needed to gather evidence for a legal separation. She had concerns about you, Jake. Emily looks down, her face a mask of guilt. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. I wanted to end things cleanly, but it all got out of control. Robert was supposed to be discreet." "Discreet?" Sarah interrupts, her voice trembling with anger. "You were living a double life and didn't think we'd find out?" Emily's eyes are filled with tears now. "I was trying to find a way to move on without causing more pain. I thought it would be easier to handle if you didn't know the full truth." "Easier?" I echo, incredulous. "You betrayed me and put me through hell, and now you're telling me it was supposed to be easier?" Robert steps in, trying to mediate. "Look, I understand this is a shock. Emily was facing a difficult situation and made some poor decisions. But she was trying to protect you from a messy situation." I shake my head, the anger boiling over. "No, Robert. You don't get to justify this. Emily's betrayal was about more than just a legal separation. It was about deceit and manipulation." Emily's shoulders slump. "I'm sorry, Jake. I should have been honest from the start. I never wanted things to end like this." The silence in the cabin is deafening. I look around, feeling a mix of anger and betrayal. The realization that Emily and Robert's entire scheme was an elaborate facade designed to protect her from the fallout hits hard. "I can't believe any of this," I say, my voice breaking. "I thought I was dealing with a straightforward betrayal, not some convoluted plan with a private investigator." Mark steps forward, his expression stern. "We've got what we came for. We need to leave. This is over." I look at Emily one last time, the pain evident in my eyes. "You made your choice, Emily. I hope it was worth it." With that, I turn and walk out of the cabin, Mark and Sarah following close behind. The drive back to town is quiet, each of us lost in our own thoughts. The reality of what just happened sinks in, the betrayal, the deception, and the shattered trust. We arrive back at my house, and I sit down, feeling the weight of the entire situation pressing down on me. Sarah and Mark are by my side, but the comfort they offer feels hollow against the backdrop of the betrayal I've endured. "Jake," Sarah says softly, "we're here for you. No matter what happens next, you don't have to go through this alone." I nod, appreciating her support. "Thank you, Sarah. I need some time to process everything." Mark places a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "We'll help you get through this. But for now, focus on healing and moving forward." As the sun sets, casting long shadows across the living room, I sit in silence, contemplating the future. Emily and I are done, our relationship irreparably damaged by lies and deceit. The truth has come out, and with it, the painful realization that some betrayals run too deep to ever be repaired. The road ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the journey of healing and moving on starts now. The confrontation was just the beginning, and while the pain of betrayal remains, I'm determined to reclaim my life and rebuild from the wreckage of what was once a relationship I thought was built on trust.